My name is Paige Benyakub, and I was born in Odessa, Texas, which is in West Texas. But I primarily grew up in the San Francisco area in California. And my parents are born in Texas as well. My father is a certified public accountant, a CPA, and he's also a consultant. And my mother is a registered nurse. And our family is primarily from Texas. My family's been in the United States since before the Revolutionary War. And our ancestry is English, Scottish, German, and Norwegian. All right, my father has his own consulting business through accounting, and he has his bachelor's degree. He graduated from the University of Texas at Austin, summa cum laude, which means that's the top in the business school, the highest grade point average. My mother has her degree as a nurse, registered nurse, and she's no longer working. She's retired now, but she worked her entire life as a nurse. My parents growing up were not religious at all, but they both grew up in a house where the background was Baptist. We're here from Texas. So, but we never went to church as a child. The only people that took me to church was my mother's mother, my grandmother. My parents did not go to church. They didn't practice a religion, though they grew up in the Baptist church. And my grandmother on my mom's side took me to church, but that was pretty much it. I was never really taken to church or had any background. But I did go to church on my own as a teenager. But then when I turned 16, I decided to quit going. No, in my mind, what they were talking about, it didn't make sense to me. They kept talking about Jesus, and they never talked about God. And I always, in my childlike mind, as a child, I thought, well, that's sad. They never talk about God. They always talk about Jesus. And they talked about how it's important not to be a hypocrite. And then I would see my friends and other people go and doing things. And then on the weekend, they would go to church. And I just thought they were being hypocrites and they weren't being real. And I didn't want to be that way. And I was confused by the religion. There weren't any real answers. So I decided to stop going to church. And then I started looking in other places. Odessa, Texas, where I'm from, was settled by Russian immigrants. And when they got there, they said, well, we'll name it Odessa. And it was named after the city in Russia. But primarily in Odessa, this is just what we call oil country. And this is where George Bush is from. It's Midland, Odessa. So we mainly have oil out there. It's the desert. Everybody's 90% Baptist. Everybody's Baptist. And then the small part are Catholic. And this is like the Mexican-American community. They're the Catholics. And everybody else is Baptist. And there's some Pentecostal and some Jehovah's Witness, but that's pretty much it. You know, you would think that, but, you know, as the generations pass, people lose their religion. That happens here even with Muslim immigrants. Muslim immigrants come here and they don't teach their children the religion and they're not strong about it. And these kids, they lose their religion and then their next generation, they're not Muslim. I've met several Americans who say, oh, my grandfather was a Muslim. Oh, and he used to talk to me or he'd say, Salam alaikum. And that's all they know because their parents didn't teach them Islam. And they don't teach their kids Islam, so now they've lost Islam here in America. I'm sorry, I can't say anything. I don't know. No, I grew up as a Baptist, so I hardly met any Orthodox, never met any Orthodox anybody, you know, until I lived in Chicago and there was an Greek Orthodox church.
Yeah, for example, I asked the question like this, the Catholics and the Baptists, what's the difference, I guess?
Oh, well, that's huge. That's what you call the Protestant and the Catholic. There's the Catholics and Protestants. Protestants are the Baptist, Methodist, Presbyterian. So they just don't follow the Catholic Church. They don't follow the Pope or anything like that. So they're Baptists belong on the Protestant side of Christianity.
What's the difference in belief?
Again, I'm not too sure, but they don't hold the same rituals. I think that's pretty much it. And they don't consider the Pope as in their authority figure.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all I know. I don't know a lot.
No, that's okay. Just I wonder the personal.
Yeah, Protestants don't follow the Pope and whatever they say. So
Protestant, what would they do?
they don't follow the Pope. Catholics, the Pope is their, main person. Well, I don't remember where I went as a little child, but I grew up partially in California and like I said, the Bay Area, San Francisco. And then we moved back. My mom moved us back to Odessa. And I went to Sam Houston Elementary. And then I went to Hood Junior High. And then I went to Permian High School. And Permian High School is a very famous high school here in America. And especially in Texas, they're known for their football. There was a movie called Friday Night Lights that was made about my high school. And also a television series, Friday Night Lights. And actually the time that all that was going on, that's when I went to that high school. But it's primarily all about football. That's all that matters in Odessa.
Did you play football?
No. Girls don't play football, but I was in the band. No, the band, the marching band, the music, and I played drums. Well, I mean, my parents divorced when I was young, so that was very hurtful. And that's, a sad story. And then moving away from San Francisco to Odessa, that was a big culture shock because in the Bay Area, you have the redwood trees, it's beautiful, the ocean, and then you go to Odessa and it's all desert and there's nothing. And it's not the pretty desert, like Arizona's the pretty desert, but Odessa is not the pretty desert. It's the Sonoran and it's flat and nothing, but it has beautiful skies. So it was sad when I had to move back to Odessa. We just our values aren't any less, but our values are different, I think. In that when my parents divorced, this was the early 70s. And at this time, women were able to work in the workplace and they could support themselves. And so if things weren't going right, they didn't have to stay in a bad marriage. Also, what I think is in the old days, so to speak, when you had a child or a woman became pregnant, it was demanded that they have to be married, So if people are doing what they're not supposed to be doing and the woman gets pregnant, then the families say, no, you must get married. And the thing is that maybe these two people don't really love each other. They were just dating and things happen. So then they enter into a marriage, but the real love's not there. So after a few years, it's not working and they decide to leave each other. I think these things have always been going on. It's just in the past, you were forced to get married, and here we call them shotgun weddings, meaning the dad of the woman who got pregnant comes with a shotgun and tells the boy, you better marry my daughter, But now it seems it's more socially acceptable to have a child out of wedlock. But so that's most my own feeling is people are getting married because the woman got pregnant. And like I said, the real love wasn't there. And then the woman can work by herself and it's easy. And why do I have to stay in a bad relationship? And it's socially acceptable. So that's why people started getting divorces more then. Oh yeah. I have a college degree. I graduated from the University of Texas at the Permian Basin, which is in Odessa. And I have a degree in mass communications and a minor in speech, public speaking. And I worked in radio and television for like 10 years. But then I decided I wanted to move to Chicago. And it's hard, and here in the United States, if you're in radio and television working in a small market, to go to a major top 5 market and you don't know anybody, it's difficult to get a job. And I just kind of fell out of it. And I did little projects here and there, but never as strong as I was before. And I also have a certification in teaching with the state of Texas, and that's what I'm doing now. Well, I wasn't like an A student at all. I was a C student, but I thought I was doing really good because I never picked up a book or read a book, and I felt like to get a C, that's really good. But I think the main issue is because my parents were divorced and my mom worked very hard to support us, and it was hard for her to keep track of me and make sure, are you doing your homework? Are you doing what you're supposed to do? And because of that, I know nobody's watching me, so I'm gonna goof around.